The general idea is that as of right now, until February 26th, everything is stayed. Like all the court cases, everything that was happening up until December 28th is now on pause, universally until February 26th. As of February 26th, you then have to fill out this form and turn it into. There's actually a lot of options. You can turn it in through this form that I just put on the in the chat. You can turn it in physically, and there's actually like on that same link you'll find another link that'll give you a form that you can print out. You can turn it in at any point, but we're encouraging people to do it as soon as possible. If you have any inclination that you might be sued for non-payment or for a holdover or for anything, and that you might need that protection, you need to send that out. However, if you were not to do that, the landlord is still required to send that form to you when they give you when they tell you how much rent you owe, or when they actually file the case. They're required to give you a copy of that. You can even fill it out if you're about to be evicted by a marshal, and you can hand it to the marshal, and that stops your eviction until May 1st. So it is a very strong, and it can't be challenged. Like it could eventually be challenged, and you do want to tell the truth on the form so that you don't run into problems later. But bottom line is, it will stop your eviction until May 1st. So this brings relief to a lot of people that were right on the precipice of being, we'd already started seeing the people falling through the cracks in different parts of Brooklyn, getting evicted finally in the middle of a pandemic, right as it was getting worse.
It's a new moratorium framework that's much broader than anything from before, and it applies to all cases, pretty much in all categories, up to February 26th of 2020. Now, February 26th is pretty close, and so there's an additional extension for people who fill out this hardship declaration until May 1st. And we're going to go into the details. Folks have already done a really good job on this, but I just wanted to show you what the hardship declaration looks like and go over a couple of scenarios just to see how creative we can get and still be very honest on the hardship declaration. All right, next question. Who is covered by IFPA? This is pretty much everybody in rental housing, especially until February 26th. But there are a couple situations that some tenants have been unhappy with. And that's a situation where, you have a subletter in your apartment. Maybe you went out of town because of COVID and now you're back. Maybe it was a legal sublet. Maybe it was an illegal sublet, but either way, you would like your subletter to leave. They have stopped paying you rent and cannot get them evicted, basically, with few exceptions at this point. So I've actually gotten a lot of calls from tenants about that with like really horrible subletter or roommate situations. So that's created some difficulties. Landlords who sue tenants are protected, but also who sue any lawful occupant. So that could be someone who's not on the lease, but who's a roommate or a family member or whomever living in the apartment because somebody invited them in there. Cases for ejectment in Supreme Court, sometimes landlords will go not to housing court, but to Supreme Court. And so in that case, you're also covered under the stay. And one thing not on the slide that I forgot to mention, but somebody mentioned about recertification, so I wanted to bring it up, is that administrative proceedings are also stayed. So if you live in NYCHA housing or you're having a Section 8 voucher termination or something like that, that is also stayed by IFPA. So it's really, really broad, much broader than anything we've seen before. Who can sign the hardship declaration? So again, this applies to most renters. No one should ever lie, but it's written in a way that has a lot of catch-all phrases. So people should feel pretty confident about signing it if they can fall under any of the subcategories. So we'll go over each section individually, but the two big sections are Section A, financial hardship, or Section B, physical risk due to eviction from COVID, due to eviction and COVID-19. And if you don't fall into the financial hardship, most people fall into the physical risk category, and we can talk more about that in a little bit. So what does financial hardship really mean? It means losing a job due to COVID-19 really at any point during the pandemic, or losing hours. So even if you still got to keep your job, but you got a pay cut, that could count. It could be also the increase of out-of-pocket expenses. So for example, if the bus line that you rely on is running much less frequently and you're forced to take Uber or Lyft, or the bus is too crowded and you fear exposure, those expenses for transportation could be factored into the hardship declaration. If you have to purchase PPE, I know a lot of people living in multi-generational households are actually wearing masks in their house once they come back from work, and that can become very expensive. So thinking about how much you're actually spending on PPE. And notably, the financial hardship declaration does not require you to produce receipts or any proof. So it's really going based on your word that you are spending that money, even if you paid in cash and you don't have the receipts. Maybe you can keep them going forward, but you don't need to have them going back. Caretaking responsibilities for elderly or other family members, financial hardships due to financial hardship due to COVID-19 makes moving too expensive, and then other circumstances. So other is a catch-all, and you can be creative about it. Physical risk is section B, and so that pretty much is a catch-all for anyone 65 years or older in your house. Anyone who is high risk due to a disability, and that could be something that you wouldn't normally think of as a life impairing disability. It could be something like asthma. And then you or your household member is at high risk for COVID-19 due to an underlying condition. Again, this is a great asthma example, which may include but is not limited to being immunocompromised. So they're basically saying, yes, immunocompromised people fall into this category, but it's broader than that. So, it could be a variety of different conditions.